For more on that, in today's edition of Asia View, we're going to cross to Patrick Fok this week in Singapore. Patrick, an end then of a three-decade policy. What have been the reactions to this so far then?
Well, Stuart, the reaction from within China has been somewhat muted. That's not necessarily surprising, given that any sort of criticism or negative commentary around government policy is likely to land individuals in hot water. But the move itself doesn't come as much of a surprise either, really, because as we know, a lot of these adoptions have been suspended since COVID into country or international adoptions out of China. So a lot of people had expected this. They thought this was on the cards anyway. Nevertheless, there has been concern, particularly from the US, trying to understand what exactly are the reasons behind this, and also concern for the many families, the hundreds of families that have been going through this adoption process for some years now and have been left in limbo. Understandably, a lot of them are upset and disappointed. There are also others that are somewhat relieved that there is a sort of finality to all of this. Certainly those that have accepted that these adoptions are probably not going to move ahead now. But one US-based adoption agency that deals with adoptions from China said that this really is the end of an era, and it hopes that children in China get all the love and care that they need.
So what's been the scope then, if you like, of China's international adoption program? I mean, where did most of these children actually go?
Well, look, in terms of the scope, this is really one of the reasons why this is such a big issue. As you mentioned, 160,000 children that have been adopted from the country over the last 3 decades. The vast majority have gone to the US, 82,000 we're told, but also to many other Western countries, Australia, Canada. Spain notably has the second highest number of children adopted from China, and most of these children were girls. As a consequence of China's one-child policy, boys were favored. A lot of girls were put up for adoption, but things have changed considerably in China, and China's economic fortunes have changed a lot over the last decade or so.
So why, Patrick, do you think China's actually ending this now then?
Look, well, officially, China has said that it's doing this in line with international norms. It's not clear exactly what that means, but there are other countries that have scrapped international adoption programs as well, including Denmark and the Netherlands, because of various reasons, including problematic cases, things like fraudulent documents, and in more serious instances, issues related to human trafficking and abductions. And these are things that China's tackled with some success over the last few years. There are also reports that have framed this as being part of souring relations between Beijing and the West. The Times newspaper in the UK notably said that this was China telling the West that it could no longer have its children. But of course, there is a much more practical element to this, which is that, as we know, China has had a falling birth rate. It's something that it's been grappling with for years, and it has introduced lots of measures to try and reverse that trend, including scrapping limits on children altogether. So this really is part and parcel of that in many ways. And as we understand, there are 160,000 orphans in China that currently need families, need homes, but Beijing has decided that domestic adoption is more appropriate right now.
Patrick, thanks very much. Good to talk to you. Patrick Fok there joining us from Singapore for this week's Asia View.